If you're kind of like me over the last 2 years and everything you do has been different, then you're always coming up with new ways to light new areas and new places. Welcome to this episode of Think Like a Producer. This will be a fun episode that I don't think we've had a chance to really dive super hard into in the previous seasons. We've mentioned an episode about lighting when Christine and I were podcasting in separate states, but still podcasting. So we showed kind of like a natural light where she was in front of her window. We showed what I was using, which is more artificial light like you're seeing right now in Worthful Studios. And lighting can be super simple or super complicated. If you're going to the same place over and over again, you start to get better with the lighting and kind of tweaking certain things to make things better as you gradually go. If you're kind of like me over the last 2 years and everything you do has been different, then you're always coming up with new ways to light new areas and new places. But we're going to show you here at Worthful Studios just some of the things that I think about when I'm lighting, especially for online video, because there's cinematic, dramatic lighting, you've seen where someone's kind of like their whole face isn't necessarily lit and, it's a little bit darker on this side. It's just creating more contrast. And then there's really what I think we've concentrated more on, which is kind of just making sure the person is well lit. There's not too many shadows. You can see them clearly. And it's just something that we want to make sure is bright and colorful and attractive for people online to stop and watch and see the video. So lighting is something that's often overlooked or very confusing, I think, for people. So I'm just going to give you some basics. We're going to show you right now in this next clip on just how I approach lighting, how I try to show people to approach lighting, but also know that you're going to constantly be practicing. I'm still practicing to continuously get better at this skill. It's a skill that you're going to keep learning over and over again. So let's dive into this quick tutorial. So welcome to this clip. I know we kind of introed it a little bit earlier in the episode. This is Kat.
Hi.
Hi, Kat. She's an amazing florist out here in Utah, Salt Lake City. And she has been nice enough to sit here while we talk about lighting for a little bit when it comes to videos online or any kind of media that you want to create. For Worthful Studios in particular, which still shout out to Christine, Worthful Studios, love it. There's a lot of light. We already have a lot of light that we walked into. So when I was thinking about this, I was thinking more so filler. How can I match the lights that already exist in the studio and just fill it in so that there's not too many shadows or too many things, and Kat looks as amazing as she does in person, but also on camera. It's sometimes kind of hard. I know that people to match that, right? Like you see someone, you say, oh, beautiful, but for some reason in the camera it's a little bit darker, or I'm getting a lot of shadow and different things. And so what we do, even with just setting up this particular look, we tried to pull Kat away from the wall as much as possible, right? If she had been kind of back here with all the lights on her, there would be a lot of shadows from her hair, from her arms, from moving around and everything. And so keeping her as close off the wall as possible helps with shadows, filling in, looking kind of around her eyes. There's another thing we have here. I know I'm going through this quickly, but it's called a reflector. It's actually filling in some of the light from below to help with just creating an overall look. Now, we talked about this when Christine and I were sitting down. For movies and for TV and different things, there's a bit more of a dramatic lighting, I would say, right? So you actually use shadow to help tell the story. But for online, I prefer to fill everything in, make everything bright, make everything so you can see it very clearly. And if Kat decided to use this video in particular on Instagram or anything, people would very clearly be able to see her. It's bright, it's very colorful, and hopefully this will make someone stop so that they can actually listen to the story that she's going to tell, or hopefully tie her brand in to this high quality and pay you for your talent and things that you do. We talked about filling in the light. It's not dramatic. We want it to be bright and presentable online. We want people to be able to see Kat and obviously we talked about audio in a different episode, so they'll be able to hear her clearly. When you are filling in the light, a lot of things that I like to do actually is turn off. I know this is going to be weird for a sec, but go with me. Can you turn that light off for a second? When I first came into the studio, I cut all the lights off and turned it on one by one, so that I could see each light. That's obviously behind us, but I could see each light and where things were filling in. And then we kind of played around with it for a little bit. At first I had some of the track lights on, then all the track lights on, realized I just wanted to fill in the space as much as possible because we want our videos to look like you're kind of in a comfortable position. Maybe you're even at home, even though this is actually a studio. And then when I'm filling in the light, you could just turn yours on. Sorry, I know it's a bit of a blast of light, but it's good to sometimes turn your lights off and on because you want to be able to see where the light is hitting. So I'm going to turn this one on just to warn you. And you can kind of see where the shadows are filling in. You can see what I recommend usually is to have lights that not only have dimmers, but can also change the Kelvin. I don't want to be too technical. I'm trying to think of the best way to say it.
Warmth.
Thank you. You can change the warmth. So I'm going to show you, well, I'm not going to show you that too much, but having a dimmer, being able to control the light, how much you're putting on your subject, your talent is really important so you can control the light as much as possible. Because what I've noticed when people are at home, when you're trying to do this yourself, everyone just kind of turns the light on as high as possible. And it's just because we think more light means better light, but really it's trying to see where the light is helping tell the story, where the light is filling in. You want to be very particular about these details. Again, this could be a lot for someone who's never played with light, who's never touched light panels or anything, but that's why we encourage you, if you're like, I really don't want to become a lighting expert, hire Christine, come to Worthful Studios, and just let us take care of it for you. Not trying to be super salesy, but it really does make a difference so that Kat can come in. Kat came in, it was already pre-lit. Didn't have to really think about it much, can kind of just sit, we fill in the light and make her look her absolute best. And now she can show up and talk about her business and talk about what she wants and doesn't have to overthink about the technical side of things.
Lighting it can be really tough with floral. A lot of the things that Tiff was talking about of when you're photographing your work to pull it away from the background. I don't have a beautiful lighting setup, so working with natural light is what's best for me. But it is really difficult because there's so many details in each flower. When I photograph my work, I usually will try to do either a detail shot and zoom in on one or two particular flowers, or really pull it out to get that full structure and shape of it. But the best way to do that is to minimize shadows, pull it away from the background, good lighting, minimize shadows. I think I said that already, but really minimize those shadows. But it is hard to tell a story through good lighting and photographs with floral, because I think they are more, the power of it is experiencing them in person. So translating that can be really difficult and really important to do a good job at.
So as you can see, it is so worth it to bring in people who know how to light as well as shoot, as well as stage. It's if you're going to invest in higher production quality, you got to invest in people who know lighting. And as we've shown you, it doesn't have to be crazy. We don't have like a bajillion lights in the studio. We do have pretty good light because it's a brand new building and we thought through that. But it is so worth it. If you're going to pay more for good production, don't skimp on the lighting. And one thing that we didn't necessarily cover because we're in a controlled light studio, we're actually downstairs, is if you're shooting in daylight, there's a whole other thing because you got to think about clouds and shadows. So that's not for today's episode, but we just want to throw that out there. Daylight can be super beautiful, and it also presents different challenges with video. So don't skimp on the lighting. Hire people who know the basics and can make sure to bring enough. It'll be so worth it. And of course, if you haven't subscribed yet to the channel or to the podcast, definitely do it. We hope you binge all the episodes in this season. We've made them for reference for you, and we will see you on the next episode. I think like a producer.
This point on this, oh my gosh. We showed my cam when we were, it's gonna be great. We showed.
I get to over there for a bad example of lighting.
The bad example?
Only good examples.
Only good
Or
examples.
you could